Welcome, everyone. Happy afternoon. Thanks for joining us today. We will just get started since it's already 2 after the hour. And we have a bunch of stuff to talk about with you all today. So welcome to the Homeownership Development Quarterly Partner Meeting call. What a mouthful. I'm Talia Concreves, she, her pronouns, the Assistant Director of Homeownership Programs at OHCS. And I'm joined today by Jessica McKinnon, our Senior Homeownership Development Program Analyst. So we'll be kind of tag teaming today. And just to frame this space, this is our space where we've been having a lot of spaces lately where we can talk to our development partners because of our NOFA, but this is our quarterly partner meeting where we aim to bring any updates to you related to homeownership development and hear from you about what's happening on the ground. And before we start, I just wanted to acknowledge that this has been a hard week for many of you and our communities, and there's a lot of uncertainty about programs and funding. And one thing that we feel lucky about in our division right now is that our homeownership development funds are all state funded. These haven't been in question at all this week, so we're feeling stability around that at the least. And so I'll share our agenda for today. We just wanted to share some updates with you. Here's our quick housekeeping. The drill. But we want to share some updates about the NOFA. Many of you know that our NOFA was released on January 6th, and it is open, and we are actively giving any pre-applicants their work centers, but the applications, we won't start accepting applications until February 24th. So Jessica will be sharing more updates on that. We'll talk a little bit more about our program-specific lift templates, some other exciting updates about programs that OHCS administers, but really we deploy the funds for, and local jurisdictions administer these programs. And then we'll just share some highlights of the HDIP program now that it's 2 years old and there's a lot of work done related to this. And we just wanted to tee this up for session, just highlighting some of the good work that's been done already and the requests that's out there in the governor's budget, and leave room for discussion. Any questions you have for us, any questions you have for each other, anything you want to share, we want to hear it. So feel free to stop us at any point during this presentation. If you have specific questions about what we're talking about, we're happy to elaborate, and then we'll have more time at the end. So with that, well, I didn't ask, actually, I'm not even looking at the chat, but if folks don't mind entering their name and affiliation in the chat, just so everybody knows who's on the call. I know a lot of you know each other, but we'd love to make sure everybody knows who's here. And then also you can use the chat for questions. You can raise your hand for questions. Hopefully sometimes the mute is a little wonky in these meetings, but hopefully you have the ability to tell us stuff verbally as well as in the chat. So that's all for me, and I'll pass it over to Jessica.
Great, thanks so much, Talia. Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Jessica McKinnon. I use she, her pronouns. I'm the Senior Homeownership Development Program Analyst here at OHCS. I'm here today to give you some program updates. So the first big update, as Talia mentioned, is for the 2025 Notice of Funding Availability, which is currently open and offering a little over $40 million in LIFT and also some OAHTC funding. First, I did a big update of the website yesterday, so almost all of the items on this list are related to that. I've posted links to all of the recordings and the PDFs of all of the trainings this month. So thank you again to everyone who attended those. I know it was a lot of meetings. We've also attended an FAQ, or we've added an FAQ, including many of the questions from those trainings, as well as questions we've received via email. We plan on updating those roughly every week or so, as long as we keep receiving relevant questions. We've also added a table showing the funding requests that we've received to date and which set-asides those are in. That should also be updated weekly moving forward, as long as we continue to receive pre-applications and then applications soon. There's also new versions of the application workbook on the website that's making some fixes that I'll go into in the next few slides. I haven't pushed those into Procorum yet, so if you have a Procorum Work Center, you'll get an announcement or a post and a notice that it's updated. Expect to see those either this afternoon or tomorrow morning, so you should get that soon. And then the last item is that we're working on a minor amendment to the NOFA, which I'll talk about again in an upcoming slide soon. So Talia covered part of this, but just another quick reminder of the timeline. We launched this NOFA on January 6th. We're currently accepting pre-applications and we'll begin accepting full applications on February 24th. The first soft deadline for consideration with the first cohort is March 10th, and then the final deadline and close of the NOFA is May 12th, or when we run out of funds, whichever is sooner. We plan on making our first awards in May or June, depending on how many applications we receive. It's really looking like it will probably be June. Then the second cohort awards will be issued in July or August if we still have funds available. So I mentioned that I added a table of the pre-application funding requests to our website. This is that same information. So each column shows how much funding is allocated to each set aside and where different applications are in the pipeline. So right now, all of the data is in the pre-applications column at the bottom there, or the pre-applications row at the bottom. The big takeaway is that we are offering about $40 million through this NOFA, and so far we've received over $75 million worth of pre-applications. All of our set-asides are on track to be oversubscribed as well, and I know that there's still others interested in applying who haven't yet submitted their pre-applications. This news, I think, is a little difficult to deliver and can really represent a range of emotions. I understand that on the one hand, I do want to acknowledge that this likely means that a lot of really great projects will not be funded this year, which can be disappointing and stressful. But at the same time, this is really exciting news. This represents almost 500 affordable homes being built all across Oregon. It includes projects from partners in counties we've never served before. So 9 of the projects are in counties underserved by LIFT, and 11 are considered rural, which means our changes to LIFT are working to reach places we haven't in the past. It also shows that there's room for us to grow, that there's market for us to support and serve more affordable developments in the future. So I hope that you'll take this as good news as you work on your applications. I also wanted to remind you that these are pre-applications, so there's no guarantee that we'll receive all of them. And then to those of you applying, this serves as a good reminder to be thorough in your applications and spend some time making sure that it's complete before sending. Moving on to the more technical announcements, I did want to quickly summarize the changes we made to the workbook. The information is also available on the website in more detail. In both the full application workbook and the abbreviated one, we made adjustments to allow for negative numbers in the latitude and longitude entries, considering Oregon is around the negative 1/20th longitude. Some of the rows for highly likely funding sources were locked, so we unlocked those. And then maybe the biggest one, we adjusted the calculation for the formula that calculates the general contractor profit percentage to consider both vertical and horizontal construction costs. In the full application, we also made some changes in advance of that upcoming amendment. For the abbreviated application for projects with 4 or fewer homes, there were 2 specific changes. The first is that somewhere along the way, the instructions for the narratives got a little reversed. I had shared guidance that you should consider the detail level of your narratives to work like grading in school, with A being the most details and C being the shortest or fewer details. That was flipped in the instructions in the abbreviated application, but correct in the actual application or in the actual questions in the application. So I just flipped the instructions back. Then in the pro forma, we fixed the application charge, which is reduced to $1,000 for applications with 4 or fewer homes. If you attended the pro forma training, you may have noticed that the error that I encountered and promised to fix during that training was not mentioned. And that's because the error during that demo was actually my user error. So essentially, the sample pro forma came out to 11% net profit, which is above what we allow. I tried to reduce that amount by reducing the developer fee, but the profit didn't go down. And that was actually correct. The way that this pro forma is built is that the net profit includes both the developer fee and any sort of loose funds that aren't actually spent on anything. So by reducing by reducing the developer fee, I was just increasing those loose funds. So if you run into a situation where your net profit is too high, instead of reducing your developer fee line item, you should either reduce your sales price or reduce the amount of your lift request, and that will actually solve that problem. And if you've already started filling out your application, there are a few options for you. The first is that you can transfer your responses manually. If this is easy for you and you can set aside a few minutes to copy and paste, please feel free to do that. If this is a substantial ask, you could also email us at the ho.development email address with a copy of your workbook, and we can make those changes for you. The last option is that you're welcome to continue in the old workbook without making any changes if you don't feel like any of these changes really impact you. We'll do a quick assessment of all of our changes to see if we need to make any updates to your workbook before scoring. And finally, our upcoming amendment. This is really a small one. So we've received some feedback on the financial ratios that we chose to evaluate financial capacity. As a result, we're going to move forward with some minor changes to a couple of the ratios to be more in line with best practices. So the first red line there, it's currently debt to net assets ratio under 0.8. So we'll be shifting that to total liabilities and total assets. And then the last line there is currently total current assets to the lift loan, and we're adjusting that to just total assets. Total assets to the lift loan ratio. And that should be coming. I'm not sure what the timeline is, but expect it really soon. We just need to go through our internal tasks, and you should receive a technical advisory, and we'll update everything on the website. But your applications have already been updated with the new information. Are there any questions about these NOFA updates before I hand things back to Talia? I don't see any hands.
I don't see any hands, and I think that you answered Jackie's question right after she posted that. So hopefully people feel like that question is answered. Okay, well, if anybody has any questions, there's still time to ask them, but we'll keep moving. Thank you, Jessica.
Yep. Sorry, I'm in control of this.
So this next item, sorry for those of you who are not Lyft users yet and haven't been through the process with our documents, but this is a really exciting update for us. We now have Lyft templates on our website, and this is representative of work of a lot of stakeholders over the past year, going back and forth with us and our DOJ, and really giving us some really good feedback to improve our documents. So thank you for everybody who hung in there with us and gave us your time and thoughts and attorney time to improve our LIFT documents. So this is our template document set. The document set for condos is slightly different and not up here yet, but very similar. And these are the documents that we're using for projects pre-2025. The 2025 projects funded with this NOFA will have slightly different documents because of the change in how we're doing our subsidy. But we really wanted to put this up here so that you all can reference these and look at what type of and this isn't the full list. I think it cut off there's 2 more agreements on here, the priority and subordination agreement and intercreditor agreement. And I just want to call out those specifically because during closing in the past for LIFT, a lot of time is spent reviewing these documents and making sure that lenders are okay with the terms of the documents. And we think that we've worked out a lot of the problems that we've had with sharing a lien with construction lenders in the past. And then we hope that by posting these here, you can start sharing these documents earlier in the process and identifying anything that might be an issue. We're also hoping that there aren't very many issues moving forward. Every negotiation that we have to have is costly to you, it's costly to us. So we're really hoping these documents are in a good place. So they're up on our LIFT website page. I can post the link in a second. And just one more thing to say is that, these documents are up here. These are what we hope we will be using for every deal moving forward, except for the small changes that we'll make for 2025 projects. But please don't take these as your absolute project documents. When you get awarded LIFT funds, you get assigned a development officer. And as you get close to closing a couple months out, they'll send you your project specific documents. And so they should look like this. But there may be some interim changes that we make, and we'll try to keep this template page up to date. And also we're committed to, if there's any substantial changes that we're making internally or that have been made in one project that seems like it should transfer to other projects, we will be reaching out to our LIFT stakeholders and letting them know about the change and giving you opportunity to tell us how that change might impact you. So this is a work in progress, but we're really excited about these standardized templates. Any questions about that before we keep going? Okay, great. So I'm going to shift gears a little bit. We wanted to briefly tell you about 2 programs that will support homeownership development. And sorry if you've heard us talk about this one already, but these 2 programs are similar in that they are programs that OHCS has the money for, but it's really up to local jurisdictions to offer the program. And so you as developers, as stakeholders on the ground, you would be working with your local jurisdiction, not OHCS on this program, but we are, and with the next program that I'm going to talk about, but I just wanted to make sure everybody knows that this is coming down the pike. So this is the Moderate Income Revolving Loan Program, or we call it MERL. And the way it works is that OHCS has been awarded funds from the legislature, $75 million in funds to run a revolving loan program. But the program, OHCS just runs the back end of that revolving loan program. Really, local jurisdictions, either counties or cities, need to opt in to operate these programs. And they will, and this I won't go through this whole diagram, but basically the local jurisdiction says, I'm going to open up, they adopt a city ordinance or a county ordinance saying they're going to offer the program with some stipulations. They open up applications, developers can apply. The developer receives a grant for the amount of the improved value on the land, and then or like the difference between the base value and the improved value. And then basically that is paid back. It's an upfront grant, but it's paid back over time through a tax exemption. So whoever is for homeownership, who's ever in the home pays their taxes like they normally would, but it goes into account as a fee that repays the loan to OHCS. So hence the revolving loan. So basically how this would look for homeownership development would be that the homeownership developer applies to their local jurisdiction if they're offering the program. They receive the grant, they build the homes, they sell it to a homeowner, and that homeowner starts paying their property taxes. And those property taxes go into a fund to pay back OHCS. We did get clarification that community land trusts homes are eligible for this program. Just the land is exempt from taxes, so the taxes are just related to the home. This program, it's supposed to launch mid-February. So mid-February, sponsoring jurisdictions will be letting us know if they want to start offering it. It's not we're opening it up and sponsoring jurisdictions have to tell us within a deadline. They can opt in, I believe, at any time. So if you are interested in having this program in your community, you reach out to the folks at your city or county offices that work on housing. And hopefully they'll opt in. There's an administrative fee that they can earn for offering this as well. We've heard mixed things about whether that will be enough to cover the administration of the program, but we're hoping that many jurisdictions will opt in. Any questions on that? Okay, quiet group today. Okay, so I'll just mention one more program, and this might be a throwback for some of you. OHCS received funds during the Great Recession. So back in 2009, I believe, to it's called the Neighborhood Stabilization Program. So to rebuild communities that had vacant or foreclosed lots. And so we received this money. The rules are very much mirrored after community development block grant program requirements. We administered 3 rounds of funding. It's been over 10 years since we put out a call for this funding. But we do have funds remaining from this program that we're still hoping to use. So funding was allocated to the jurisdictions on your slide: Clackamas, Bend, Eugene, Gresham, Medford, Portland, Salem, Springfield, Washington. So please, if you're on this call and you are operating, building, thinking of building in one of those jurisdictions, take note, because we do have an intergovernmental agreement with these jurisdictions, and we're hoping that one of them wants to take us up on our offer to give them the funds to give to an eligible project. So if you go to the next slide, I'll tell you what the eligible projects are. So we have almost $1 million available in NSP funds. The properties must be foreclosed, abandoned, or vacant, and located in an NSP1 approved target area. And I can put a link that takes you to a Google Earth map that tells you if you're in an NSP target area. And I think that's kind of this foreclosed, abandoned, or vacant, and then the target area are kind of the key first questions you want to ask yourself about potential projects. The projects must have income restrictions between 50% and 120% AMI, depending on the project type. And then the funds can be used for down payment assistance, acquisition or rehabilitation, redevelopment, and land banking. But just note that the foreclosed, abandoned, or vacant must apply to any of those projects. So down payment can only really be used on a priorly foreclosed home. And it has some stipulations about the cost of the home. So I think it has to be offered at like I'm not even going to say because I don't want to say the wrong thing. So there's more information about the NSP program on HUD's website if you want to learn more and if you want to figure out if your project would be eligible. And so kind of the first step would be thinking, okay, if I have a project that's underway or a planned project, does it meet these criteria? Does it fall into one of these four uses? And then the next step would be also making sure that you're in one of those past jurisdictions that has a past agreement with us, and reaching out to that jurisdiction to see if they're willing to participate again. We have notified all those jurisdictions that these funds are available. So they should know about it, but we might not have gotten to the right person. We've received interest from Portland and Clackamas, but I think they're still looking for the right projects. So really hope that some of you have a great idea of a project that you're already working on and can convince a city or county official to take on this program, and then we could get you those funds. They'll be available first come, first served. I think one other sticking point for this program in the past, and I'm still getting caught up to speed on it, is that the cities or counties had to do the environmental review, and that's a pretty lengthy process. So we are happy to share more about this program to you and the jurisdiction if they are on board. So reach out if you have a jurisdiction that's on board to support your project, and then let's set up a time to talk. Any questions about this one? Okay. Then I guess we will keep cruising. I'll pass back to you, Jessica.
All right, thank you. This is going to be a quick presentation. All right. Well, we wanted to close out our part of the meeting with some updates about our HDIP program. HDIP stands for Homeownership Development Incubator Program. It's essentially our vehicle for providing any general funds allocated to homeownership development, and it can be flexible and responsive to the needs of the market. This was really established and first launched in 2023, and it was funded in part in the last biennium or this biennium. HDIP is essentially a lot of different programs wrapped up into one. The first is the LIFT supplemental program. So prior to this year, LIFT could only award up to the value of the land, which was a problem for denser developments where construction costs were higher, but the land value remained the same, or rural developments where land value was much lower. LIFT supplemental essentially helped us fill in that gap in development costs where LIFT just wasn't enough. This was funded again for this biennium, but we used all of those funds last year in 2024. Development subsidies is a flexible program that supports affordable developments not eligible for LIFT, such as for-profit developers, homeownership models that are not shared equity, and homes serving up to 120% AMI. HDIP also provides grants for tribal and sovereign nations. LIFT is unable to be used on tribal lands, so this program allows us the ability to do so. It also supports other homeownership programs such as down payment assistance and home repairs. And then the last category of this program is the pre-development and capacity building grant, which provides small grants for pre-development on projects to help them get ready for their LIFT application, as well as other capacity related support. And that could be anything from hiring a staff member to developing an outreach plan to completing a research project. So LIFT Supplemental was available in both the 2023 and 2024 NOFAs, and we awarded over $21 million to eligible projects. This funding supported almost 350 homes and significantly increased rural participation in our program. 2023 saw the single largest increase in rural participation of any of our NOFAs. This has been a great program, but because of the changes in how we're awarding LIFT money moving forward, this program will no longer be necessary. So we're excited to be able to move any funds that would have been allocated to this into other HDIP programs. Development subsidies was issued only in 2023. We awarded almost 10 million to 6 projects that would have been ineligible for LIFT otherwise. And we'll have 57 units affordable up to 120% AMI. This program was great because we were able to support some projects that supported equity in a way that hasn't really been possible with LIFT, such as there's a Williams and Russell project that's being built on land in Portland that was historically taken by eminent domain, or the PCRI Pathways project that will build homes for families eligible for Portland's North-Northeast preference policy. We're also excited to share that the first project supported by this program has sold its final home and is on its way to completion. So exciting. Our grants for tribal and sovereign nations, that program supported 2 kinds of projects. We provided $4.5 million to 2 projects supporting the development and construction of 27 homes on tribal lands. Excuse me. The Nikyahweh development with the Confederated Tribes of the Umatilla Indian Reservation is underway, and the Tipsu-Ila'i development with the Confederated Tribes of Grand Ronde Community of Oregon has been completed. So that's exciting as well. We also awarded almost $475,000 to the Burns Paiute Tribe, the Confederated Tribes of Coos, Lower Umpqua and Sayusla Indians, and the Coquel Indian Housing Authority. These funds will support up to 20 households through down payment assistance and home repairs. And then our final program in HDIP is that pre-development and capacity building grant program. In 2023, we awarded $1.6 million to 14 emerging and established partners. Our first projects through this program began to reach the completion phases of their grant last year. My next project is to develop some quality metrics and good highlights from this program so far, so keep an eye out in the next month or so for a feature piece about this program specifically. But just a few highlights I pulled together. Funding from this program has supported the salaries of 9 staff members for different organizations. 5 of the partners used the PDCB funds in some manner to support either ongoing projects or projects that they applied for that same year in 2023. 5 partners also used the fund to support projects in preliminary stages or to otherwise build enough capacity to apply for projects in later years. So that includes applications we received last year, as well as pre-applications that we've received this year. And I didn't want to do a whole slide for this, but we are keeping an eye on the legislature for where we may be with the funding. The governor's budget included $16.6 million for the HDIP program, and a separate House bill is advocating for an additional $50 million for the program. We have some ideas for how we'd like to implement the program starting in 2026. So should we receive any of those funds, we'll probably start outreach on the HDIP implementation starting this summer. And that is all I have. So I guess I can open it up. Any questions about HDIP before I pass it back to Talia again?
There's a
I
question
see
in
a
the chat.
question.
Yeah.
Yeah. Are the capacity building grants just for nonprofits? I wasn't here yet in 2023 when the offering was here. Was it just for nonprofits, Talia?
I believe it was just for nonprofits, and we don't have any more capacity building grants for this NOFA this time around. And if we do receive funding from the legislature after this session for more HDIP, which is the Homeownership Development Incubator Program, where we would be able to fund this program, that could be a broader conversation that we have with stakeholders.
Thank you. And great question. I don't see any other hands or chat messages, so I can hand it back over to you, Talia.
Okay, great. Well, I think we've thrown a lot of information at you. And we all know that you are busy and many of you are working on your homeownership development applications. So we just wanted to open it up. Are there any questions about anything going on in OHCS's homeownership development shop, or any updates that you want to share with the rest of the group? Okay. So we are always available to chat. You maybe, Jessica, if you just want to put the HO development, if you do have a project and you have questions about the NOFA and how it's working, please reach out. Oh, okay. If Lyft funding is oversubscribed on the first day of applications, what are the tiebreakers again? Good question. Do you want to answer that, Jessica?
Sure. Yeah, we have two tie-breaking methods. The first tie-breaking method is by geography. So how spread out the affordable units are. And then the second one is by the number of affordable units compared to the funding ask. So essentially, more bang for your buck, I guess, is the quick and easy way to say it. So basically, we don't have a specific definition for geographic diversity. So we might need to play that by ear a little bit, but I guess a good example would be if we have like 4 applications in Portland and the rest of the applications are all spread out all over Oregon, we would definitely award at least one application in Portland and the applications that are spread out. But then among the 4 Portland applications, we would need to figure out which one has more affordable units for the funding ask. Hopefully, we don't need to do a tiebreaker for a giant group and only we'll need to do a tiebreaker for a couple at a time. Or no tiebreaker at all. That would be the best option, but great question.
Yeah, great. Well, you know where to find us. Keep the good questions coming. We'll keep posting FAQs. So we're sharing out the answers that we're sharing with folks individually. And just thank you everyone so much for your partnership and time. I know you spend a lot of time listening to us talk at you about this stuff. So thank you for showing up, and thanks for all the work that you're doing, and we will see you. Have a good day.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.